What's in the Bucks? Presented by Sure It'll Be Grand.
And welcome back, everybody, to Sure It'll Be Grand, or more precisely, What's on the Box with me and David. And we're back to review Andor. It seems to be the only series this week for me that isn't at its finale. She-Hulk is gone, Rings of Power is gone, but Andor is here to stick. It's because Andor has actual, sensible amount of episodes per season, doesn't it?
Finally, it's actually going to have 12 episodes, none of this short stuff of barely seems like it just started and then all of a sudden it's over and you're left wondering what you do with your life now.
We were really spoiled as the 90s, early 2000 kids to still have 24 episodes, 25 episodes per season of things. Those days are gone.
Oh man, talk about it. I mean, I think it was crazy when it's funny to see for Andor, and they're when they were saying we're gonna have 12 episodes, and for us to actually go, holy cow, they're actually doing that many.
Yeah,
because it seems like everybody's doing 6 or 8 tops.
Yeah. I mean, even I used to scoff in the 2005 saying, oh yeah, Doctor Who only does 13, 14 episodes this season, and it's just and now it's been reduced more and more. And so I don't know. There's certainly a part of me that's just kind of look. The reason why it's happened is one reason is actors have gotten to work better together and make better working conditions for each other, which I can't hate on. Look, I'm way happier to know that actors get to act comfortably and don't have to be pushed through a grinder. And I have a few less episodes, whatever, But I
imagine quality is there.
Yeah, but
I imagine
the
quality of the product is there. That's the thing.
Yeah, exactly. But I imagine there's also big studios going, ha ha ha. Now we could do more shows for less,
Yeah.
But that's just how it always is. But yes,
well, I think it's also you notice that there's some of these shows too. More and more shows are being treated in a way like just long movies. They've just been segmented up, and so we're hitting more into where if you're segmenting it up, it almost it comes down to about 6 to 8 episodes when you're cutting it down that way.
Yeah, I mean, again, you watch Obi-Wan Kenobi, and you could easily have made that into a movie. You know, there was a lot of filling there that probably wasn't needed. I'm not hating Obi-Wan Kenobi. I enjoyed it at the time. I think I have since kind of simmered down, going yeah, okay, it wasn't perfect. It was a little bit studio fluff, but whatever. But yeah, we're not talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi. We're talking about another part of the galaxy, and well, he is around at this time. Yes, he is. I just opened up my timeline of the Star Wars galaxy. Yes, he's around. He's on Tatooine right now, being all grumbly. That's what's happening right now. Luke is 15, 16, moaning about things, But yeah, we're in the Eye, and an interesting thing I mentioned the Lord of the Rings earlier on the Rings of Power. This episode shares the same name as one of the recent episodes of Rings of Power. Don't know, just a weird coincidence, but here we are. I want to talk first about last week's episode again, just for a moment. I think simmering down, I did think it was a waste of an episode. I think there were cool lines in it, but I think those lines could have easily been put into previous week's episode and been completely fine.
Yeah, I think definitely the two previous episodes should have been one, and they could have combined some things. It felt like it had that feeling of we have two different ideas of how to portray stuff, or not different ideas. We have multiple ideas, and we're just doing both instead of let's pick some of this and then condense this all into one. Yeah, I think unfortunately, I still enjoyed it. I still actually liked it as just watching it just for the entertainment. But in the grand scheme of things, it was a too much of a waste.
I'd go so far to say I preferred it to the previous episode from when Andor arrives to the camp. That section to the end, I actually prefer last week's episode to that. There was a more fullness, there was a bit more development,
I think that's the reason probably why I liked it more. I liked it in comparison, right? I mean, having been through the previous one of that, like I said, overall, was it needed? No. But I think last week's episode did flow better. And I think that one felt like it should have been more of that should have been the episode they should have made and then injected whatever they needed from the previous one, inject some of those bits into this one. That should have been the episode they made.
Yeah.
But
absolutely. I mean, I'd almost go so far to say as our favorite boy, Stellan. If we could have had, so not last week's episode, but the episode before, if we could have had more of him with Andor, a bit more stuff happening there, and then leave all the camp stuff to one episode last week, been grand. I've been happy with that. Fair enough.
Yep.
But look, it's still not a bad show. I think the writing is very good. I think what Andor does best, and we'll get into the plot very quickly, is that it gives us a million Easter eggs, but it doesn't feel like fan pandering at any moment. It doesn't feel like, oh, look, this is about the story because this is happening. It's like, and this. No, it's not. It's its own story and it's focused on that, but it's left
subtle. It's more subtle. Yeah, there's a lot more subtle notes, and there's even things that you can look, if you're even not a fan, you would see it. You either know that that's probably important, or just there it is, okay. And it's not that smacking you in the face, that very obvious fan service that it can be fun at times, but it is getting a little old on a lot of things that we're seeing in general in fandoms. I think another point that was recently made and is interesting with this series, what we're seeing much more of, I guess, is humans, right?
Yeah.
We're not seeing actually a lot of other aliens or other species going on. Actually, I don't think we have in this series.
I mean, the only aliens we've seen was the beginning with Andor, like the guy working as a bodyguard and that kind of stuff.
And granted, and then even this episode towards the end, we do see another species.
Yeah.
But
again, it's not about that species story. This is a very human story, focused around humans. He was there, but he was a doctor. Like there was, it wasn't like, oh, he's here because of his race had to survive. No, he's here because he's a doctor and he knows how to fix this. Hopefully, maybe. I thought for a second we may have been tricked, and we're not right, and then nope, never mind. Anyway, we'll get to that. The heist is afoot.
Yes.
Do you want to talk us through it?
Yeah. So as we open our episode now, this is going to be the day of the heist, right? We finally have made it to the heist. So the hope is building of going, we're finally going to see some action. We have Cassian talking with Nemec, or Nemec talking with him, and beginning here where it's morning. Nemec looks a little rough, and he comments that he couldn't sleep. He's nervous about all.
He feels he's going to fail the mission because of all this,
Right. And he's talking about this, and of course makes he's writing it in his I almost called it his propaganda, he's writing his book about all of this, and even is still kind of throwing out there as what they've touched on before. Well, Andor, you don't believe in this, but you're necessary.
And he says he's glad he's there as well. Whatever has happened, and he deals with the big issues brought up. Is like, are we like the Empire? Is it worthy to be bloodthirsty and cruel and hire bad people to get what we want? Are we not just going to replace one tyrant for another if we do this?
Right. Right. Nemec is pretty. He's a smart kid.
Yeah.
He's picking up on a lot of this, and which is good. I like what we're hearing from him, and hearing as he's adding more writings to his manifesto of things. It's the reality of it. It is what a lot on the outside, people discuss about the differences between rebels and Empire, and you start going, there's certain things you go, it's treading a gray line of or into a level of grayness. There hits that point of there is no black and white when you're, and that's unfortunately, this is pointing out the cruelty of war in general, right?
And I think what this episode made me realize more than anything is that it really does explain how mixed the rebellion is right now, because it is just a mix of naive young people trying to change the world. It's about mercenaries who may have some revenge on mind. There's all these very contrasting people who all have different ideas of how they should be. We get the message of everyone has a rebellion of their own, but I think for some it is less about true good morality and the right for all, and more about, I fucking hate the Empire, and this is a good job, so why,
Well, that's exactly right. There's like, I just don't like this, and then others that have Well, there and then there's the levels of those who have genuinely been wronged, or had families killed, or something genuinely taken from them. Others who are they just don't like how much control is going on. They don't like government, and they're pushing on that level. So it's you're getting that whole spectrum of rebels.
Yeah, exactly. Um, as we've seen before, one of the big things is that they're trying to sneak in as Imperial troops. Again,
Yep.
these are very base level Imperial troops. They're not dressed as stormtroopers, for example. They're not the
Nope.
big, massive army ones. But you could, like, if you look at some of their costuming, the padding they have around the chest and the back,
Mhm.
they are shadows of stormtrooper in it.
They are. That's why I was liking what we've seen in these episodes. We're seeing a little bit more of the phases and the different outfits, literally. Outfits in the terms of military outfit, but as well as actual outfits
Yeah,
themselves, and seeing the different types you've got going on. It makes sense.
yeah. We
And
also,
so that was pretty
yeah.
interesting.
A thing also to remember is like this show shows you that Imperial, um, what's the best way to say it? Presence isn't uniform across the galaxy. They do have some parts where they don't have stormtroopers, where it's just people
Right.
more in civilian gear. Um, we hear generals going like, "Look, behave. If you don't like this place, behave tonight because our boss might give us a position somewhere else." Like where they are, the Eye and the festival, they don't want to be there. Even the Imperials are just like, this is a shitty job for like people who don't do their work well and they get sent off here. This is like the
Right.
scrags of the Empire, and not even
Right.
like the
You're not seeing the actual troop, like, yeah, like you said, there's no stormtroopers we've seen here. This is more off. There's higher levels, or just different, more like the techs, or just the non-combatants
yeah.
are here. And like you said, yeah, they're sent here is almost like this is the shit job. This is the one you don't want to be here.
Yeah, it's also the one where I guess they they're first of all not too worried about having to fight anyone because the people they only have to fight are locals that they've
Yaldani.
quickly um, brought down because we've talked about this. It's a lot about imperialism. Obviously, it's the empire, um, but a big rule about the empire is that, and much like empires have in the past, like the British Empire, they've gone into local populations, dressed them like themselves, made them talk like themselves, and a generation or two down the line, these people have lost their culture in a big, massive way. And they
Yeah.
even done things like, which is actually quite like a historic parallel, about these people are currently, about 500 of them were walking to their ceremonial religious center, and they mocked them for saying like they're so stupid. We actually set up a few bars along the way with free drinks, and like we brought it down to something like 58 people, something along the lines of that. And
Yep.
that was the thing that was done in India. That was the thing that was done in Ireland. Like slowly tempt people out of their traditions as much as the heavy sort of hand of, you know, colonialism. So I
Right.
really appreciate the hell of it. They also talked about how these people are stubborn. They try to hold. It's the old ones are trying to hold on to their ideals. And I guess the interesting thing about this kind of revolution is that rebellion they look into a past that actually was kind of better because a lot of revolutions we see today in the Western world are all like, oh, let's make insert country great again, uh, you know, and
I don't
it's
know what you could be talking about that.
yeah,
I
I
have
don't know
no.
what,
I've not
but
experienced any of that
yeah,
going on where I live.
yeah, I'm not like stuck between like two countries that have done this in the last few years at all, no, no,
Yeah.
no. um but that's kind of like in this rebellion is they are trying to get back to how it was before and where it was a better system. Yes, the Republic had issues. The Republic wasn't perfect, but there were more cultural freedoms and more identity of who they were. And the Empire is slowly but surely. I mean, maybe that's part of the costume thing as well. Right now, this planet is not completely conformed into how they want them to look, and that's why they may not look like stormtroopers either, because they're not there yet. They're working towards it. They talked about interesting things that we gave the locals two options, and they argue about which option is better without realizing that
They're not giving them anything,
yeah, we're not giving them anything anyway,
and
and
they
like there are other options there they haven't even considered,
yeah. But
and
they were giving them kind of fake options. They were just
yeah,
trying to confuse them to the point of realizing, like they said, they're not giving them anything. They're actually
yeah,
taking more away, but they just distracted the people, and it showed how much this episode was really leaning heavily there in the beginning. We're really showing how much these the Empire, or at least those in control here on this planet, don't care about the locals
or
at all. They see them as
complete
that,
contempt.
that whole contempt
Yeah,
for the locals. It very much, you touched upon it exactly. It very much reminded me of the stories about, I say the stories, but the very much the reality of the British Empire coming to India
yeah,
and
or
how they treated them.
even
I
like
mean, pretty much anywhere, but
yeah,
there's
yeah,
particularly some certain stories that just popped in my mind that I was aware
yeah.
of, that I had recently heard, and it was like, oh, there's a lot of stuff that they're taking in, copying
Yeah.
into Andor.
Not to take the step in here, but even Japan, for example. Now, not like British, yes, but also a lot of American thing post World War II. Like the culture flipped on its head,
Mm-hmm.
And again, like most things, you could have an argument saying, "Oh, there were some good things and some bad things," but I think when you get rid of diversity, it's mostly bad.
Right.
You
Well,
cut off
yeah.
a branch of development and
Mm-hmm.
try to boil it down. And even in Japan nowadays, there is always this push and pull of tradition and going to the future.
Right.
And Japan is like one of the most industrial, developed, and technologically forward thinking thing, but still wrapped in tradition and history,
Mm-hmm.
So, like again, like colonialism kind of touches most people everywhere. I mean,
Yeah.
again, even America had to fight against colonialism, and you could argue that America. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna
We
say
have.
you argue. America became a colonial state and started spreading out and did its own thing as well. Like, let's not play this game.
Yeah, exactly. I'd say
Yeah,
we became its own. So,
yeah,
but yeah, I think this was good of how much they're taking a lot more real, I guess I say real life influence. It felt like
it
it
is that real life,
in this
absolutely.
series
Yeah,
for these types of things, instead of where before it does seem like things were touched upon and there's some kind of similarities or whatnot. Here, especially in the show, we've been seeing much more very explicit, that like we've been able to talk about, where there's some direct lines. And I think that's what's made this much more, again, why this show's been much more mature, more adult, because it is rooted in reality,
yeah, because it's
that they're
not
able
anymore
to
about
influence the stories on.
it's not anymore about dashing young squire who goes off to save the princess and an old wise wizard helps him. Now it's
Yeah,
about people who are mechanics, people who have their own little planet, who are dragging themselves along. Like Star Wars has kind of people might attack me for this. It has grown up with this show. Like it has really matured a lot. Before it is mostly giant space operas and the fantastical. And don't get me wrong, I love that crap too. Like it's the bread and butter of Star Wars, but it's really kind of George Lucas's idea about Star Wars was all about imperial control and colonialism and people trying to form a militia to fight a great evil, and he has lots of opinions on war and colonialism in general, where I think this show is actually in a way paying more tribute to that than even Lucas's own movies. You know?
agreed. I think that's that you hit the nail on the head right there, because that has been Lucas's point, right? Was, well, what one of the aspects was originally he made Star Wars more for kids, or for
Yes.
young adults, kids. That's his focus, his primary focus. And I think it still is when
Yeah.
he's writing things, or when he's, so that's always it. So this has allowed now that, hey, those that started with it now have obviously grown up, and the stories do need to mature, right? They need to hit with what have we
Yeah.
seen as we've grown up. So there's always going to be that balance, right? Star Wars should be able to hit all of those notes, right? So there's going to be shows like this that can be for the more mature, more other realities, and then, like I said, and then still have the movies or shows that want to do more of the space opera, you don't need to just have Star Wars can only be one thing. It's not single-sided. It is very diverse. It is a lot more going on, and it is a great base to use and foundation. And now we explore different types of stories and different things to discuss
Yeah.
or just purely entertained, whether you want to do the pure entertainment or more,
Yeah. So like for
something
example,
deep.
I wouldn't say Andor's pure entertainment. For example, it's
No,
not. It doesn't lie in
it's
that. Now
deep.
there is some in this episode, and we should get into more of this episode. But yeah, it's more of a thinking piece. It's more
Hmm.
about experiencing how people feel in this world in a very real way. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, absolutely, and I think for better or for worse, these big franchise universes allow us to see more corners of it. Again, I know people get sick of Marvel, and there's a lot of stuff that comes out. Let's be real, but I will say this for Marvel, it has new interesting little pockets now. Like She-Hulk is not like any of the Avenger movies. Like it's not. It's its
Hmm.
own little weird quirky thing. And anyone who has watched the last episode, do. It's fantastic. It's some of the more creative things. I won't spoil it, but it's one of the more creative things that the Marvel Universe has done since, as someone I've seen joked, since Werewolf at Night. But yeah,
Right. I think that's what's good. Hopefully we'll see. And granted, both Marvel and Star Wars are all, they're both Disney owned, but hopefully them and others see it's okay. Let's diversify. And I think that was the intention originally when they were announcing all these different. Oh, we're gonna make all these shows, blah blah, and people were starting to sound like this sounds like overkill. It's like, no, let's make some of these shows where we can explore the different ideas or explore the different tones.
yeah,
And you know what? I like that because then now it's like we've got a consistent universe, but now we can have things going on, and I like that. I think that's a good direction. But
yeah,
yes, back to this
yeah,
episode 6,
yeah,
Andor
yeah. So
specifically.
I think we kind of half stepped into what the generals and commanders were doing. So, for example, Behaz, who's in charge of the
Yeah,
entire um, compound, he has to meet with one of the local druids and swap sheepskin as some sort of ritual renting of the
mm-hmm.
land for 3 months. Again, this, you know, if you know a bit of history about tribal lands basically taken from the locals, this will ring a few bells,
Right.
especially Native Americans and how they had to deal with Europeans. Um, and interesting thing, the priest makes a big point that their gods or something like that, they have long memories. Like
Yes.
this wasn't a oh thank you so much. He was like,
Mhm.
watch yourself. All right.
I love that part was so great with the chieftain. He's like, yeah, he makes that comment, and Gorn's the only one who can translate. That was another, that was a point they were kind of emphasizing, right? That the commandant and others, right? They're not learning the language. They don't give two craps. But
No.
as we learned previously, where Gorn was in love with a woman who is a local, etc. So he's learned the language or learned
Yeah. He's a
enough of
local,
it to.
half local at this stage.
Right. So he's there being translator, and yeah, the chieftain set makes that comment. He just and turns to the commandant like, oh, he hopes you enjoy the eye. May the eye be blessings on you. Yeah, no, that's totally not what he said.
Yeah. Um, and we start seeing the phenomenon of the eye beginning to happen,
Hmm.
which very impressive. Because one thing about Andor is the show, it's quite dark, it's quite grungy,
Hmm.
and they
Yep.
somehow made a rainbow asteroid fall, seem quite
Right.
grungy and dark again. Like it's quite there. But like the heist starts happening. They go with Behaz. Is it Behaz or Behaz?
I haven't since I don't think did they even say his
I'm
name
not even sure. I think they just called him like
properly. I
his
saw it.
yeah
I know he's commandant.
commandant. Yeah,
So we'll see. Commandant.
he's not the nicest man. Is he?
Oh no. Yeah.
He
No.
he
No.
he
No.
wants to give his son a smack across the face, back of the hand, which poetically comes back later on very nicely, because our man Gorn smacks him with the back of the hand afterwards. But yeah, his
Yeah.
wife and all that. I get the impression he actually doesn't really care too much about his wife or children. He kind of does in his own psychopathic way, but not
Right.
really. When it comes to it, he's quite willing to give them up. But yeah, they stop him, and they the young kid Nemec is about to be shot, and
Well, let's. I think we gotta.
oh, is there some
Yeah.
more?
So
Go on. Sorry.
yeah. Right. So I'd say so one thing. So as we're approaching, we finally do see we've got the however many of them going on. We know that um, Vel and Cinta were separated, right? They were going off on their own
That's right.
thing.
Yes.
We finally do see what their point is, which is just quite simply they need to break in to help block communications.
Yeah.
Is their goal. So they need. So now we finally have that explanation. That's why they're off. That's their mission because they need to trigger that before they can say start the mission.
Do you think it's
It
weird that they didn't mention that to the rest of the team more openly?
Yeah, I thought that was it's like, oh, okay, that's the only reason they're separated off. It wasn't like there's some big mysterious thing. It's like, oh, okay, so their mission. So yeah, I don't know. Is that just intent? That's just for the audience to just
Yeah.
oh, what are they gonna do? That was a little hokey, I thought. But we see that as the rest of the team is forming up, right, integrating into the whole event, right, using this as the opportunity of they've been told that there's going to be more troops coming in to help, so they're just posing as that. I thought an interesting point, or not an interesting point, but a something that was mentioned as they're approaching in their discussions, that it is made known that I think it was Terman is the one who is who Vel left in charge, as we see, and he's the one who's been saying, "Oh, you need to look like a soldier." And it's like, what does he know about it? He's actually a former stormtrooper.
Yeah.
So we get explanation there about. So there's his
This is the third
reasoning of.
stormtrooper we know who's left in main
So,
media. I think.
right. So we do see that is happening, or that's something that underlying is going on, which
Yeah.
makes sense. So we do see that, which is they try to throw in that there's that mixture of distrust then as well, because it's like he's a former stormtrooper.
Yeah, and we mentioned that. Said you should have seen it when I think it was with Vel, or it was another member of the party, and her entire family were wiped out by stormtroopers.
Mm-hmm.
And we realized, like, yeah, it makes sense that he's a stormtrooper. And you can see why he's so grumpy about it as well. He hates being this. He hates still having to order people around. It's not what he wants to do.
Right. So I think I like that's a good little story arc going on with him. So yeah, so we get the eye is started. So now we've got that going on. The rest of the team is in place. Vel and Cinta are able to break in and start disrupting communications. We see a radio man there listening in, and
yeah,
that he doesn't realize. And I kind of find it funny. He's like, that completely distracted while Vel's running right past him practically.
yeah.
He must have some very quiet boots, or that
he's so focused, and we're part of the story.
Right. So that kicks off. Gorn helps escort Andor and the team, rest of the team to. He's assigned them to be escorting the commandant back from this trading of hides, right?
And
To
we're
kick
back
off the
to where
ritual.
I did the massive jump ahead.
Yes. So that's what they're going on. So that's how Gorn has helped now get them in.
So to break it down,
inside.
Communication people, Nemec and all that, chilling out, making sure not to press certain buttons to not connect to certain people. Then we have team of, was it 5 or 4?
Let's see. So because you got Skeen, Terramin, and Andor and Nemec. They are the 4 who are the main are the main infiltrators.
Okay,
and then
enough.
Vel and Cinta are the only. So the 2 women are the ones who are handling communications. Disruption, right?
Yeah, and tonight is also meant to be a bit of a party, even for the base. Like people can't be outside. That's why we had that double bluff from last episode. Okay, fine, you can go out. So it means security's low. There's going to be some doubts about communication, especially with the weird gaseous meteor fall. That's not a meteor fall. That's something else that Nemec explained. So they actually get the Commodore quite easily, really. They surround him in a single room. Again, Nemec was about to be shot when he gets saved by the woman. Sorry,
Sometimes.
she hasn't had many talking points, but she was mentioned to have healing hands and be a doctor in that
Yeah.
spirit, and then she's the one that just shoots the guy in the head
Blasts him.
and saves Nemec.
Right. I think to be clear, yeah, because we had the with the commandant. It was commandant and his family, and then we had a colonel with him
Yeah.
who was escorting them as well. And so he tries to tries to take hold with the rebels, but we thought Nemec was about to be. I thought he was about to buy it right
Yeah,
then.
I
And that
thought,
was going to be
we're right. He's going to be killed.
yeah,
There
that's
we
right.
go.
But then, boom, Cinta and Vel come in, and yeah, I think like you said, for it to be, I thought it was Vel when it happened. I was like, oh, there was Vel, and then you see Cinta, and you're like, and she has this like I thought this was a good bit of acting to me. There's a noticeable tone and difference as this has started. She has much more of this laser focus, this look of this killer look going on versus before, where like you said, she's been treated as she's the healer, all that. And she is a little, there's a kindness going on because it was amongst the other rebels, so she's trying to help them. Now it's mission time, and she's gone laser focused.
And
it's
again,
the healer's gone. She's here to kill.
But that's the thing; she has to focus like that, because I think if she for a second had anything else going on in her mind that's herself, she wouldn't be able to do it. She has to focus to kill.
Yeah, so I thought it was subtle. To me, I think it's a subtle thing, but it was like that was a good bit of acting. I was like, good, well done. Done there.
Very well done. He's the Commodore's surrounded. Somehow still thinks he's in charge in some weird way. And he gets slapped with the back of the hand across the face. Just like he said he would do it to his son. And honestly, I just laughed. Just I had a clear out. It was just very well done. They split the family up from him. And they make a point that, hey, we're going to kill them if you don't do what we said. And he said, you're going to kill them anyway. Why? Because that's what you do? That's a big point. Like, that's what the Empire does. We give you this option. You do as you're told, your family lives. And he kind of goes like, fair. Again, it's weird that he gambles. I guess, again, I suppose it's a show of his personality. That I think if his kid and wife die, he might be upset or outraged. But I have a feeling he'll get over it. Yep. But yeah, they go to the storage area where all the money, and it is money at the end of the day. We thought there might be more to it. We thought maybe there were some information about certain Death Stars doing something.
Yep. Turns out this really is well, at least as so far as we've seen. Yeah, this is just purely money. It's one big vault of. They weren't kidding when they were saying there was a lot of money.
That's the question. Okay, so like this is the equivalent to galactic credits, right? I never really considered it to be like a physical amount. Like you thought it was just like a chip that had the amount you had, and that you could like credit card kind of thing. But I guess it's actually physically there, like, or at least during the Empire's time.
I did think that was a part that was interesting to me too. I mean, granted, we do see occasionally like a kind of coin used, but this was odd. Like you said, it seems like credits are always just this deemed. Normally, at least Imperial credits, it feels like there's usually much more of in like a credit card manner. But granted, like even in later, right? We were seeing with like Mandalorian, right, when he's being paid for his bounties, there's some actual.
It is, those hexagon little clips.
We had different coinage used there. But of course, he said, Imperial credits don't spend anymore. Then he gets others. But yeah, I thought it's interesting to see more of this big like vault of coins essentially.
And it's interesting again that the Empire pays physically directly to their soldiers. Again, these are soldiers. They're not clone troopers at this stage. They are just stormtroopers, just conscripted people that have decided to join up. So I guess maybe, I don't know. I wonder, is it a way of taking control away from banks as well? And that the Empire has money, it can control it and move it to exactly where it wants to, and that's it. Because you would have thought, that money just gets put into like your account, and your wife can take money out, or your husband, and when you come back, like you can take some money. Like I never thought it was just like. So do you think, like, here's a question: do stormtroopers have purses?
Is there a pocket? Is there a pocket
Yeah.
somewhere in the?
You know what it is? It's a thing on the back. It's that big bar thing. It's just
Oh,
a big roll up of coins.
This is money for tolls, gas, and
Yeah,
lunch.
yeah. And again, like I'm not being funny, but this base, are there shops? It's like a military base where they have the shops you can get stuff from. Because
Right.
I haven't seen anyone like in downtime. Like the only thing they seem to do downtime him is go to like a holy relic and use it as shooting practice. Like what do they do with the money? You know? I don't
It's
know.
just yeah. You're saving it.
Yeah. I think we'll go over to Vel and Cinta as well for a moment because I think this is the first time we've experienced someone pissing in the Star Wars universe. So they have the same
Yes.
systems down there, I guess.
Right. Yeah. I was like, oh, so we have to see this of while right before Valentin to knock out communications as they're on their way, they're hiding this little enclosure,
Yeah.
and we see some of the troops who are making their way through to be where the event is going on. And yeah, I was like, so we explicitly have to have the classic the baddies are just outside. Oh, it's just because he needs to take a piss right there.
Yeah. And I mean, again, so that's the first of weird things. So Andor was given the first time where someone swore out properly. Was that soldier dude on him. And we had someone smoking a cigarette, which yes, it definitely was a cigarette like thing. I checked it, yeah. And now we have someone piss. So again, all kind of mature things introduced for the very first time in Star Wars. I don't think like people you need to use the bathroom has been mentioned in Star Wars before this. You know?
Yeah, even with all as we go to a bar and we're seeing they're drinking and whatnot. Yeah, somebody doesn't go to the bathroom much.
Yeah. That blue milk must just like really be absorbent. I don't know. But yeah, they're there taking the sword out, and eventually they get into a little trouble because some like the Empire's becoming aware that there's something wrong with communications, and they're calling out to people on the other end of the dam about communication, saying, "Yeah, ours is gone as well." Oh, that's weird. Maybe it's something to do with the
eye.
Astro. That's what they kind of settle on, but I think some of them aren't as comfortable with that thought. You know,
Well, it seems like it's specifically we're seeing this guy who is like the main communications man.
Yeah.
He's the one. He's trying to fix this. He's like this doesn't seem. You can tell he's the other. Everybody else is kind of like, must be the eye. Like they don't get because nothing goes on.
He must be
around
new
there.
to the base. He's
Yeah.
still like, no, I gotta do my job. Dude, just relax. It's fine.
Exactly. He's got that whole like. Well, I think he was one. The radio man is the same one who was the one who was caught smoking, right?
Yeah.
It's like he's bored anyway. So to him, he's like, this is finally. Oh, something's happening. At least let me troubleshoot. This is interesting. And yes, as we see that as he's fiddling around, manages to intercept the communications that are going on between the rebels. As we saw that they had to split up there. And now he starts hearing these interruptions of vault and we're moving stuff and it's like, wait, what? That doesn't sound like normal communications.
Yeah, and they go in and they see the Commodore. Like eventually they send a party out there to look for the Commodore, and the Commodore's there and says, it's like one of the guys says, don't worry about it. This is just like some high level security.
Classified. Yeah,
classified.
Classified mission. Tell them it's a classified mission.
And Haz is just like, oh, I'm really sick. Oh, it really hurts. Oh, he doesn't really say much.
It looked like as we saw, like, because I thought this was another bit of like, oh man, we are being somewhat dark in a way, in that when they busted into the vault, there's the like they said there would be a handful, a very small contingency left to guard, right? Yeah. So just to take those troops and be like, you guys, you're loading this up. We're not tying you up. We're not doing any work.
Yeah.
No. You guys are going to be loading. So with a gun to your head, you're loading up these credits. And he even makes the Commandant. I love the fact that even making the Commandant, you're helping load this shit too.
Yeah.
But as we saw, since they already made comments when he was trying to dress for the ceremonies, he's like, oh, they must have shrunk my special outfit, my sash and all this. Oh, this belt doesn't fit. His wife's like, yeah, you sure about that?
Yeah.
We see that he is probably, not been quite the healthiest. And as all the stress going on, and now you've had him lugging what should be heavy coins essentially. I do think they were as they were showing, this isn't him faking it,
He's
trying
just
to be
out
like,
of
oh, I'm saying
yeah, yeah,
he's flat out having a heart attack. He's
yeah,
right there, like they basically they accidentally killed him.
yeah, yeah.
Not that they were be upset about it, but
He
whoops.
also
And
had
yes,
some
so we see
shock
that
there, to be fair,
this,
about
yeah,
Gorn slapping him and then working along and saying like, "Yeah, get over it." Works it. Oh, you worked for me for 6 years, and he's just like, "Yeah," and he
to
just
be
basically said,
betrayed.
"Yeah, fuck off.
Yeah,
I'm not interested in what
right.
you have to say." And I think that he's oddly more outraged by that about someone who's meant to work under him, not doing himself, than his family being in danger.
Yeah, I
You
think
know?
that was well. Because he still felt with his family. Yeah, they're not really. So I can control this. But seeing going somebody betray him outright, not just somebody just storming in. He doesn't know. If he's treating everybody else as we saw with such disdain, right? As we see with the locals, he does not care.
Yeah,
They're below him. So any rebels or anybody trying to break in, they're just
yeah,
it's the rebel scum
yeah,
type mentality. But now Gorn, he's worked there several years, he's just he's part of this. He's part of the Empire, but
yeah,
he's betrayed him.
yeah. I think that's part of the stress that eventually does give him the heart attack, where he just falls. And obviously, there's a shootout, things are going crap, and they have to get out.
Gorn gets instantly killed.
Oh yeah, like straight away. Yeah,
They
and
just
honestly, he was
outright.
kind of grown as a character for me as well. I was like, oh, he's
Yeah.
interesting. Um, it's not going well for everyone, really. The ship has to start getting moving. Poor Nemec gets flattened. Oh,
Not
go
yet.
on, go on,
No,
go on.
you stop trying to kill. You're trying to kill poor Nemec here with getting him flat.
I'm just
Um,
yes. Go on, go on.
but right, I think that was we see all that going on, right? We see that the radio man went, who and he's gathered up troops, sees the commandant drop over. It's like, yeah, this isn't good. Shootout. We kill Gorn. Now everybody's spread out and
Yeah,
is trying to load up. Load up the rest of this credits. But now we've got a fight going on. So now Andor's there. He's trying to get. He rushes in. He has to get the ship started. Try to figure that out. And as we see now, because of people are in bad spots, we see that Vel is now caught between with Crossfire. We've got Terramin and Skeen,
yeah,
and on right there by the ship. We've got Nemec inside there. He's helping. He helps Andor when there is somebody who's snuck on, trying to stop him. But we've got all this major shootout going on, and now it's turning ugly. It's like, well, we lost one member of it. We lost Gorn. What's going to happen? We now see that so with Vel now is caught in the crossfire. So Terramin asks, tells Skeen, hey, lay down some cover fire. I'm going to try to go grab her. Which I was kind of surprised he went that route. I thought he was going to try to just be like, let's lay down cover fire and get her come over. I think would have been the better way. Whatever. But we see that now we have our second loss as Terramin tries to run to get her, and he is shot and killed. So now we've lost two members of this party.
and they're not the last
Already.
ones either, as I've been clearly jumping towards.
things are not going well at
Yeah.
all now, right? And you see that Andor's struggling. He's trying to get the ship started, and in the meantime, as we're seeing that, we're now seeing flashes over to, I thought that some cool things now is we are seeing that over at the airbase they've been alerted
Yeah.
to what's going on, which was the worry, right? Which we already knew that the airbase would be alerted. It was about timing this so that they could have enough time to escape them.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, again, the thing that they're trying to get away with, it's not really like a very versatile freighter. It's literally just a box that kind of floats, Whereas
it's a flying brick. Let's be
Yeah.
honest, it's a flying
Yeah.
brick.
It's falling in style, and
Exactly.
yeah, and TIE fighters would make quick order of that.
Which
If
is
only
the
there
point.
was
Yeah,
some, if only there was some sort of weird natural thing that was happening at the time that could somehow help them.
exactly
Yeah,
right. I loved seeing that they were watching them. You see them in their row, as we've really only seen a few times, either more in animation or even in like the video games,
Force
where we
Awakens, I think
see
we see
them.
him a little bit, don't we?
Say again?
I think we see it in Force Awakens.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we've seen it a little bit where, but yeah, that whole thing, I think it's just, I don't know. There's something about that where they have the TIE fighters all lined up on this rack, and it's just
Yeah.
like, and then letting them just drop, or and watching the pilots get in. There's something about seeing a real action in life
Yeah.
like that. I think it's a cool thing. So we see them getting loaded up. So now we know, okay, stuff's really kicking off now because they're alerted. They'll be here in X amount of minutes.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And they have to skedaddle. This is the big one.
mhm.
Um, and it's fair to say they probably haven't been able to like strap everything down for the
Not
flight.
exactly. Not exactly. We haven't gotten to our OSHA regulations
Yeah.
level of being able to make sure everything. Well, I mean, granted, everything in the Empire, anyways. We see there's no even guardrails. When they're firing a giant beam to destroy a planet. So who cares about straps and
Yeah.
things to help make sure they're all locked down?
Yeah.
But yeah, so as everybody's loaded in, and hey, I think does Andor even tell them to hang on?
No, I think Andor is just like, ah!
Let's go.
And he boots it. And sadly, there is some movement, and it's. For a second. Okay, so Nemec gets hit by
Gets crushed.
money. Yes,
Yeah.
by money, which
Yeah.
ironically maybe is a message of the Empire and the financial issues, and him talking about should we hire mercenaries? This is probably the symbol of like it'll hurt you, it'll
Mm-hmm.
corrupt you potentially, um, and I don't. I think in the story of Star Wars, I don't remember the Rebels hiring that many mercenaries. For the most part, it's about making alliances with other groups. I'm sure there have been a few Black Ops sort of thing where, like, okay, we have to hire someone to do the dirty, which is always the thing with revolutions. But yeah, Nemec gets crushed bad. He
Yep.
can't feel his legs. So which I thought, oh, that's where they're going. They're going with that really weird stereotype of the brilliant savant in the wheelchair.
I
uh,
was a little bit concerned with, is that what we were going with?
yeah, it's a little bit of a
Yeah,
oof.
they have to try to drag him over because as we find, since he has the ability, with his machinery, he's got the tech to help them guide them through the eye. Andor
Yes,
does not know. He's as he says, he goes, I'm flying blind here. We've taken off. What's going on? I need guidance here.
yeah, and he's basically it's like an analog machine. Again, it's there so that the
Mhm.
Empire can't guess where they're going to fly next. They can't
Right.
track it. It's old tech, and the he gets stabbed by a needle. I don't remember what the name
Yeah,
was.
she
Uh,
gives him a med
Spike or something like that.
yeah, she gives them the medical shot, so that way
Yeah,
try to, yeah,
I,
whatever
I
that is.
yeah, I think that's
The
fairly
med
new. I think I think we
Yeah,
see it
the
in
whole
some
med
video
stick.
games maybe, but not really.
Yeah, she basically, yeah, she just, I think she calls it just med stick, and
It's
just,
basically
yeah,
acting as a big
jabs him with
insulin
it.
needle to the
But
chest. Like that's it. It's an adrenaline thing.
it looked like, yeah,
Yeah,
basically that. So enough to, with a little bit of, I think it's like that mixture of a little bit of morphine and a little bit of adrenaline.
yeah.
So like, we'll kill some of the pain, and we'll get you going here.
I'm glad it wasn't one of those. Oh, he gets stabbed and now he's fine and is interested. I hope. I really was like wishing they won't go there. Oh yeah, this is like a really rare thing that can like bring back injuries. So I'm glad like it stabilized him just for a moment.
Stabilizer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
pure stabilizer. So yeah.
he seemed to really only have said go up, go down, certain degrees, and punch it,
Mhm.
which makes me think of like Andor. You could probably figure it out. Just saying. You just saying.
Well, I think what we were seeing, yeah, it sounds like what it felt like is it's more like it was helping to time it, right? That
Yeah.
well, you know that you need to do, but there's so much going on. So yeah, the kid's just watching and going with this, the tool, and able to be like, okay, yeah, go up, yeah, now. That's why he kept saying now, you have to do it now. You're timing to avoid all the stuff coming
Yeah.
through, which is why as the TIE fighters are chasing, they're trying, while they're fast and maneuverable and quick, not quick enough, as we saw that by
No.
him doing these evasive maneuvers just right. Now the TIE fighters were, they're blowing up. because they're
I
running
kind
into each
of I
other or
feel
they're
it's a
hitting.
shame that we saw them blow up, because one thing I liked about this is that, look, in general in Star Wars, TIE fighters are basically just chicken feed. Like, they're just there to be
Mhm.
destroyed and be
Oh yeah,
like,
they're absolute fodder. Yeah,
yeah,
they're cannon
absolute
fodder.
fodder. Like, they're nothing more than that. But in this show, we've seen they seem more like a threat. We've seen
Mhm.
them like going down, terrifying people as they fly by. You know, and yes, they were a threat in this, but I think I just guess I want to see them more robust in this. Like,
Mhm.
they are continued thing. But look, they get away, and then there's the whole talk about, hey, what do we do? The kid will die if he doesn't get injured. And there's the whole, oh, we should go there. And Andor makes a decision by himself.
He
And I
makes
think
the
it's the
call.
first time we see what potentially Andor will become, a proper rebel
Yeah,
leader. And he says, I know
right.
someone, I'm going to bring him there.
Well, they already said no.
Well,
It
it's,
was
yeah,
they said like Skeen was like, hey, we already built into a contingency plan of saying if there was medical need,
yeah,
we
that's
go
right.
to it.
Yeah,
So
sorry.
and yeah, so Andor makes the call. Even though Vel's
Yes,
like saying
yeah,
we don't want to. Cassian overrides it because basically it's 2 out of 3 anyways. So
yeah,
at that point, so it's like I love that. Yeah, Cassian steps up. We're seeing once again every time when stuff's getting real or there's really there's risks going
mm,
on. He's stepping up. He's the one saying he's become the leader. Even though he doesn't want to be, he's a solo guy. He does not want to be involved with stuff. He's taking charge.
yeah,
So we see here he's like, hey, no, this he and the kid have developed a good relationship.
yeah.
He wants to see that he knows this kid
He
needs
has good
help, so
instinct
he's
as
gonna help
well. You know, he's
him.
just like, this is right. These are my people. I need to look after them. Even though he hasn't formed that in his head yet, I think he will.
Hmm.
This is one of the things I would
Well,
base it on
that's
him. You know.
yeah. I mean, again, it's emphasizing why we see that he ultimately, we see how much of a killer he can be, right? And we've seen over time he can be, but we see why he's so distraught about it, right? He genuinely has good morals. He
Yeah,
has, he is a genuinely good man, uh, but just unfortunately is put in these situations where he has to do what he has to do.
yeah. Okay. I didn't know where this was going to go. We
Mm.
see Nemec on the doctor's bed. Again, this is the doctor who has 4 arms, some cool
Oh,
goggles.
yeah, I love that. He's got the forearm so he can work on it, and Vel still has to hold the bag, the blood
yeah,
bag. So
yeah.
it's like, or plasma bags. It's like you don't have anything, or he doesn't have an extra. He
Yeah.
can't. No, that's what she's got. She's got hold of the bags.
And again, it gives, even though it's futuristic and scientifically advanced, he's using proper physical tools, like metal
Hmm.
tools, nothing digital. He's pulling and prodding and cutting things, and it feels almost like a American Civil War medic camp where they just need to like cut someone's leg off trying to survive, and like it gives me that it's not high science that's going on here. This is
Right.
just
Oh, this gave the feel of like a MASH, that being like with during the Korean War, where
yeah,
they would show that, right? It was like say it's that you got just enough newer medical going on, but yeah, you're not having the
yeah.
transcoders of everything. Here we're gonna scan this. We're you don't even see anything being fused like you said.
There's
I
no
love that. Yeah,
laser
you
beams going
see.
on. Like,
Yeah, you see physical tools, and he's just like snip
yeah,
and crunch,
and
and
there's
just
just about
oh,
gas mask on the kids to keep him subdued. Like, there's a
yeah.
little bit of like liquid that's probably just to keep his body hydrated and going. Like none of it seems like magic science. There is no back to, what's it called again? Tanks.
Oh yeah, no back to
Yeah,
tanks.
there's
Yeah,
no
no
back to
back to tanks.
tanks
Yeah,
around.
we're
Like,
doing old school. What does it take
yeah,
to prepare a biological being?
yeah,
Right. I thought that added much more of the emphasis again of how real this was and more right. This is the rebels. They're not using tech. So
yeah,
these are whether this doctor is a rebel or not. It's just that he's somebody who's off the books. Right. It's somebody
yeah,
you can go to get fixed up.
exactly. And it's something we will talk about in our Star Wars What Ifs in the future. Anyway, I just remember watching it and I thought, that reminds me of something. But anyway, never mind. Uh, so Andor's outside, and he's with probably the most sullen
Being.
member of the group.
Yeah.
And here's what we've learned about him. We thought his brother was killed, that
Hmm.
he hates the Empire, that he's been in all sorts of institutions and groups, just barely trying to survive. He's probably the worst of the rebels on a morality base, but even then we kind of felt like he does want to get the job done. And he starts suggesting to Andor, saying, yeah, we could just take the money. I know a planet.
Yep.
There's no one at home. You and me get there, split it. And Andor shoots first.
Yeah, Andor shot first. Yeah. If there's ever any digital re-release and update to this, his hashtag Andor shot first.
And honestly, I was thinking it was a test. I thought it was testing Andor, just to see like, what are you really about? So I thought when he shot him, well, why did you do that? There was clearly like maybe a test going on here. Now you fucked yourself up. But no, I think we have to trust Andor's instincts. Because
hopefully, unless we see something, unless later they're like, he finds out that there was this guy's brother and he was dead, and you're gonna be like, oh, question.
Because he says, "I have no brother," doesn't he? But that can be taken.
He makes a comment just saying like, nah, that story wasn't real.
Oh right, yeah. So yeah, instantly can't trust this guy, and he's trying to get the money. So yeah, we kind of have to.
We have to assume it. I think we have to just go with this was an actual betrayal.
Yeah. Andor then goes into the camp, and it's where we see the Doctor, and we see Vel putting the cloak over Nemik's body. I definitely thought he'd survive and he'd just like be in a wheelchair or something like that, but no.
Yeah, I thought
death of innocence.
Yeah, that part there, that was like, I thought we were gonna, because it was like, okay, so we made it to the medical, which this show now is laying down the whole, no, everybody's gonna die, or everybody can, right? We're not getting into the, okay, we made it to the medical, this is gonna be sketchy, it's gonna be, he's gonna be, he's just gonna be there, just out for a while. It's like, oh no, he didn't make it. Our little boy is gone.
We expected it, to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
I guess
very much
way,
so.
Interesting way of thinking of it. At least symbolically, we met him for the first time when he was asleep, and we leave him now.
That's
that's
a good point.
Yeah, and again, I mean, to get very poetic about it, he was a dreamer.
Mm.
There you go.
I like it.
Yeah, but he also gives his book to Andor.
His manifesto.
To Andor, not to anyone else in the group. To Andor.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the interesting thing, because
he saw much more in Andor, I think of.
Especially because we see Namek almost feeling like, I keep saying Namek from Dragon Ball. Namek. We keep seeing Namek. We see him at one stage feel almost like he's been betrayed by Andor because he's just a mercenary. But I think the few chats he actually had with Andor made him realize, no, he gets it. And he mentioned that, I'm happy that you're here. He obviously had a feeling that there's something to Andor. And I'm glad. I'm glad to see it.
Yeah, I think that was why at the beginning you have to have that, otherwise it would have been like, why would he give, unless it was, maybe I can save him kind of thing. But you saw that, he understood the reality. He was a dreamer, of ways, but he did understand. He wasn't so high in the clouds with, a nirvana state. He was able to understand reality.
I mean, he couldn't sleep. He had nightmares.
Mm-hmm.
He yes, he was a little bit in the air, but at the same time, he did put himself in the hard path. It's not like one of those things where he was a posh kid on Coruscant saying, "Oh, it's terrible how the people live out there. We must help them." He's not that. He put himself right out here.
Mm-hmm. And I think, and he knew what the risks were, right? Very much so. Not in as we saw. I think I liked when he was saying, there's he was having trouble sleeping because it's hitting, it's real, but it didn't seem like it's that full like scared of like, I didn't really think I'd be doing this. It's just more of that. Wow, it is happening.
It's a physical response, and that's the thing he says out as well. He feels guilty that he's reacting this way. He wants to be well rested to do the job right, know. So Nemec, we knew you not long enough.
Yeah, but I love that character. Yeah.
But Andor's still there with the gun. He explains what happened. Well, he kind of explains what happened, kind of,
Yeah,
sort of.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Just start the yeah, scheme totally. I was trying to think like, great, you just shot him. You're just gonna tell Val, yeah, he totally tried to betray us, and exactly what he did. He goes, oh, he betrayed us. You know it's true. I was half expecting him to be like, search your feelings. You know it to be true.
Yeah.
Because he practically is just trying to give her the whole, yeah, it happened. But she, I thought she flipped the switch a little too easily, but I get it. Because they felt like they condensed this a bit in that he's demanding the doctor, hey, I'll give you what do you say, 30,000 credits, whatever, for your freighter. That's twice what it's worth. And then and tells Val, hey, I just want my cut. I want what I was promised, and I'm out of here. You do what you want. You probably need to get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
But I'm leaving you the freighter. He's explicitly saying, look, I'm leaving you this. I shot Ski, yeah, because he's going to betray us.
Yeah.
I'm telling you that's what happened. And then, but obviously the big thing that why she flips, or it feels like obviously she's believing him, is that as he's trying to go, he's like, oh, here, give this back to your friend, and gives her the Kyber crystal necklace back.
So
right?
there's nothing to hold him.
Okay, right. And it was like interesting because it's like to me, obviously we've already established, as I said, that is worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
So if he were really there to betray them or just in it for money, purely like for as much money as he could get, he would have kept that. Like he had the gun, he had the drop on him. He could have just kept that, taken as much credits and gone. He's giving back this extremely valuable thing and just saying, give this back to your friend. I'm out. Take care of yourself because shit's getting real.
Yeah.
But I'm out. And I was like, that was so
he's gonna come back
pretty quickly.
He's gonna come back. You can see it, like.
Yep. But then she tells him, here's here's Kid's manifesto, because he wanted you to have it.
Meanwhile, on Coruscant, we see Mon Mothma, and she is still pushing about the freighter lines that have been cut, that she was talking to her husband about these people that she's trying to protect. And you can already see that the Senate wasn't one of those things that by the time A New Hope was dragged and pulled down, it was slowly collapsing already. It was a parliament that had no power. Yes, it represented the people, but the people had no power. So you can see people aren't interested. No one's really talking. It's quiet. Yep. We see the Imperial insignia on front of all of the alcoves, ship balls thing they have. When suddenly a lot of people start talking amongst themselves, and like, it's basically like, oh, everyone's phone's ringing. Oh, what's happened? And they have the news of a big rebel incursion, and you can see her like, she's kind of happy, but also kind of like shitting herself. She's like, oh, and here it goes. Now we're in the deep end. Luthen is at the shop, and he's just like, oh, there's this blade from these people. I think Maul's people, actually, that had the language.
Yeah, I forgot. I meant to repeat that. I didn't quite catch.
I think it was Maul's people on the men's side of their tradition. So, like, nothing remains of their culture, because their culture was split, obviously, between men and women, and the women developed their own culture. So I think that's it. Anyone wants to correct me, please let me know. But there's just this dude who just talks in the corner, like, oh no, he's caught him. He's been caught, and he's just like this other rando podcast. Hey, the rebels have had a big, massive, significant push out there, and he mentions it's on the planet that we're talking about. It says, oh, I might have some relics in the back room, and he goes, really? Yeah, I think so. And he walks out, and he just laughs. He laughs and laughs and laughs. Like, I want to find out his backstory. Because before I thought he was just a wise man who kind of understood the cycle of war and where to stop it and what's, because he understands history. No, there is something personal there. And I don't think it's something like, oh, he lost his family and it's sad. No, this is someone wronged him in the Empire. And he is selfishly trying to fuck them over this way. I don't think he's coming from pure intent. Not pure and being just
rise up against the Empire. It's more
No,
of
no, no, no. I think maybe he lost out on a position or something, or he's been discarded by the Empire in some way, and now he just wants to have a stab at them every once in a while. Like his whole talk to Andrew's like, don't you want to give it all up for one big thing? I think he just knows how to talk to rebels. He knows their language. He knows how to manipulate them. This guy's a wanker, and I love him.
Yeah, I thought. Well, I think that's why we're seeing he's an art dealer, right? So he's trying to. What did we just see with in this scene where this woman, he's showing her this piece, and yes, it's in a lost language, and she's like, oh, that's terrible. He's like, oh no, that means it can be whatever, it can say whatever you want it. He's a salesman. We just see right there in his form that he's a salesman. So like you said, he knows how to manipulate and talk to people. So yeah, that scene would see him laugh like that it was successful, and you're like, this doesn't give me that feeling of just like he's happy. Yeah, like yes, where we are, our plan is work
good
and whatever.
Yeah.
Right. This comes across more.
It's maniacal.
There's something.
It's maniacal.
And so now we've got, so again, what are we gonna do with this character? Who knows? But now it raised already. I had questions about what's his real intention, but you start seeing that bit right there was like
there's self-satisfaction on going now. Maybe he has lost someone. Maybe I'm going too far in this, but no, I think there's a greed laughter here. There's a there is a Palpatine laughter in that.
Yeah. Yep. And is that just because of who it is? Just because the actor himself, the way he kind of comes across.
That's what I'm thinking. Like I'm almost thinking, because again, I love Stellan. I think he's such a fantastic actor. Maybe he's going for something. We won't know until we get the full picture. But I'm looking forward to seeing more of him. Like, let's see more outside of the art room. I want him and Andor to bump into each other again and put him on an adventure. I want to see stuff,
Exactly. I'm hoping here the rest of the show we're going to see more of him. What's really going on. Hopefully that will be the case, right? What's going to kick off in the rest here.
Yeah.
And yeah, now that's where it concludes, right?
Yeah,
we see his maniacal laughter, and now we go.
Yeah. So I'll say this: I think we're almost at like a clear start again in Andor. Like, sure, there's things that Andor's going to hold for himself, but this seems to be like end of chapter 1.
Exactly.
So yeah,
that was cool. I liked when the way this. See, now this. I like the way the episode ended. I like the way actually this did, because like I said, it did more of like this chapter, a chapter now, and like I said, now we're kind of a reset of so now what's next? We can take this multiple ways. Where will they flat out, things have dispersed and something else will bring Cassian back to Luthen? Yeah. Will Vel be captured as she was trying to take the stuff away? Because we saw it too. Cinta. Right, we did see she got to escape. That she puts on an Imperial outfit and she's just wanders away. When she sees that the ship takes off, she just leaves the family alone, and she just goes and wanders off to the outside. But again, we're left with, all right, so Vel and Cinta, how are they going to be okay? Are we just going to discard them? Right? Is that going to be just they serve their story purpose? Or will they be used as the bait of will Cassian hear something, they've been caught, and that's going to be why he has to be dragged right back in again? Obviously, something drags him back in. What's going to do it?
Yeah, we should mention just before we finish, that whole sector of the galaxy is in high alert now. The Empire's in high alert. Everyone's been pulled in. Emergency protocols for every single planet. This is big. They need to stomp out the rebel threat. That's a big one I think we should remember. Like, Andor might have been away from this now, but if there's any information on, especially from a certain weirdo who's living with his mother, who can track him down, he's in big trouble. But I think we'll leave it at that for today.
Yep.
And folks, we'll see you next week. Hope you enjoyed this episode. We certainly did, I think. I think it's maybe my favorite episode so far. I like the second episode, but I think this one's my favorite one.
I like the where it's going. The show so far, I think it's getting better and better. Like you said, last week's was kind of, but had good stuff. But overall, the show still is what I'm enjoying. I'm enjoying the mature theme, and I think I'm curious to see what's the second half going to be. What are we heading into? And hopefully, as long as we still see more Luthen, because I need more Luthen in my life.
Absolutely. Look, folks, we'll talk to you later. Have a wonderful week. And let us know what you thought of the episode. Let us know if you were wrong about anything. Let us know that why is Daniel keep skipping large chapters of stories. Literally, the last episode of Kazi, I jumped to the end of the episode. I don't know what's going on with me, but I'm losing my mind, folks. Anyway, have a good one, folks. Look after each other, and bye-bye.
Bye.
What's in